Bums me out. Every time I refresh the page, these things go away. That's such a bummer. I curate my carefully crafted list of Chris movies. Jurassic World. Mark my favorites. Delete all the Chris Pine movies. All that stuff. Refresh the page. It's gone. Where's the fun in that? That stinks. Oh well. Too bad that technology hasn't been invented. Of course it has. There are so many ways we could do this. We could sync it with a database or something, but that's a little beyond our powers at the moment. But hey, guess what? You can store data right inside the user's browser. Anybody know a way to do that? Local storage. Pew, pew. A new feature from HTML5, and it's great. Lets you store just a little bit of data on the user's browser. That does mean, of course, if they switch laptops or something, the data's not going to be there anymore. It's not a security problem. You can't get to local storage that was saved there from a different domain. It's going to be specific to the site they're visiting. So that's not a problem. It's not a ton of storage. You're not going to be putting like gigs worth of data in there with local storage. There are some other local storage solutions that allow a little bit more space. All this stuff is actually kind of browsable under the application tab in your DevTools. You can see local storage, session storage, indexed DB, web SQL, that kind of stuff. But local storage is super easy to use, and that is totally sufficient for our purposes. That's really big without the DevTools open. Ah, look how responsive that is. So nice. Anyway, so local storage, how do you use it? It's an object called local storage. So that appears like a global variable. By the way, global variables are really properties of an object called window. So that's window.localStorage. We can just call it local storage. I'm just going to clear it out before we start. localStorage.clear totally clears it out for this domain, for this site only. And let's see what we can do with it. localStorage.setItem. Yeah, you know me, my fixation on breakfast. James, what'd you have for breakfast? Oh well, good enough. So there we go. We set an item called breakfast with a value of water. It's just another key value store. So to get it back out of there, localStorage.getItem breakfast. Water. Cool. So I bet we could put all kinds of things in there. Let's say meals equals let's see. Matt, what'd you have for breakfast?
Cereal.
What kind of cereal? Lucky Charms. Yeah. Pink hearts, orange stars, yellow moons, green clovers, blue diamonds, purple horseshoes, and new red balloons. Sorry, this is like the 1987 version of Lucky Charms. I lost track after red balloons. Purple horseshoes I could take. Red balloons, I was like, okay, I guess. After that, they just got out of control. But it used to be just pink hearts, orange stars, yellow moons, green clovers, blue diamonds. And purple horses and new red balloons. Lucky Charms. That's the point. Dante, what's for lunch? Salad. What kind of salad? Caesar. Cool, good enough. All right. Meals. Local storage. Set item. Meals. Meals. Cool. Local storage.getItem. Meals. The string object. Just what we wanted, right? Wait, what? Gosh dang it. What is this garbage? Well, as it turns out, You can only store strings in local storage, not fancy things like arrays and objects. So much for my idea of storing our flicks in local storage, right? No, there's a way. It's totally a way. Anybody happen to know the way? Yeah. You could stringify it. Heck yeah, you could. How? What kind? What .stringify? You know? Anybody ever heard of JSON? JSON. You know what JSON is? Who knows what JSON is? What's JSON?
It's basically a way that different languages can actually interact with each other concerning objects.
Yeah, it's a format for objects, basically. It's kind of an alternative to XML for those of us who hate XML. Stands for JavaScript Object Notation, of all things. And it looks an awful lot like JavaScript Object Notation. It is not exactly the same thing as the actual notation for objects in JavaScript, but that is what JSON stands for. So it looks something like this. Kumi, what'd you have for breakfast? Did you eat breakfast? Sweet and salty bar. So it looks something like that. Looks an awful lot like it, right? Couple differences. You must quote the keys. You can't leave the quotes off. And they must be double quotes. You must use double quotes all the time in JSON. And you must quote your strings, your keys. You can nest stuff in there, though. You can totally put arrays and objects inside JSON. Lunch. I'm having cranberry walnut salad, veggie chips, and Nutter Butters. It will not surprise you to learn, given the parameters of my physical being. So another difference, none of that trailing comma business that I like so much in JavaScript. Can't do that here. No trailing commas. So that's kind of what JSON looks like. So the cool thing is it's a string, so we can just turn our meals object here into a string. So let's call it meal string. JSON.stringify. Totally works. Behold the stringification. Pretty nifty, huh? So then I could say localStorage.setItem meals meal string. Then get item meals, and I've got my string back. But it's still a string, right? It's not an object. So I have to turn it back into an object. How do I do that? JSON.stringify to turn an object into a string. JSON.parse to turn it back. So get this thing out of local storage, parse it, and it's back to being an object. localStorage.setItem, localStorage.getItem, JSON.stringify, JSON.parse. Piece of cake. So we could totally use this to store our list of flicks in local storage every time we add a new flick or change a flick or whatever, and then load it back out each time we load the page. Couldn't we? Oh, I've got a big cramp in my hand. You know what? Why don't you try? Take the next few minutes and see if you can use these new tricks with local storage to save the list of flicks to local storage, read it back out, and get started in the direction of actually showing them back on the page. But if you can just get the array in and out, that's a pretty good start. And we can worry about the UI stuff. But give it a shot. But that part will be a little trickier.